My wife divorced me by email while I was deployed overseas. She emptied our joint account and moved her new boyfriend into our house. I responded calmly, "Understood." When she realized what I had done, it was already too late. The subject line blared at me from the satellite phone screen, "It's over." Even through the grit of the Afghan dust clinging to my skin, the exhaustion that had become my constant companion, and the ever-present hum of anxiety that buzzed beneath my ribs, the words hit me like a physical blow. My breath hitched. My vision blurred. It was from Sarah. My Sarah. Or, I supposed, my ex-Sarah, judging by the email's bluntness. "David," it read, "I can't do this anymore. I've filed for divorce. By the time you read this, the papers will be with your lawyer. I'm sorry, but I've moved on. I've met someone else. Please don't try to contact me." Attached were copies of the divorce papers, a digital dagger twisted in the gut. My hands trembled as I scrolled further down. Another email, this one from my bank, detailing a withdrawal that made my stomach churn. Every single cent from our joint account, gone. Rage, a cold, simmering fury, threatened to erupt. Years of training, years of discipline, fought it back. I forced myself to breathe, to focus on the crackling static of the satellite phone, on the faces of my men watching me with concern etched on their features. I couldn't afford to lose it. Not here. Not now. I typed a response, each keystroke deliberate, each word measured. Understood. That was it. No recriminations, no begging, no emotional outburst. Just that single, chilling word. I hit send. The faces of my team swam back into focus. "Everything all right, Lieutenant?" asked Marcus, a young but sharp guy who always had my back. "Just paperwork," I said, my voice betraying nothing. "Let's get back to it." I buried myself in the mission for the next few months. I was a U.S. Army intelligence officer, and had to remain professional. The work was demanding, dangerous, a constant ballet with death. It was a welcome distraction. But beneath the surface, the cold fury continued to burn, stoked by the injustice of it all. Sarah and I had been together for 10 years, married for 7. We'd built a life, a home, a future. Or so I thought. While I was risking my life for my country, she was apparently redecorating our love nest with another man. His name was Mark Thompson, a real estate developer with slick back hair and an expensive smile, according to the photos plastered all over her suddenly public social media. Photos of them in our house, in our bed. The rage clawed at me, trying to break free. But I refused to give in. I wouldn't let her see me broken. I wouldn't let her win. Instead, I channeled that rage into planning. Methodical, calculated planning. Sarah had made a grave mistake underestimating me. She thought I was just a soldier, a man of duty and honor. She didn't see the strategist, the intelligence officer who could dissect a problem, identify vulnerabilities, and exploit them with ruthless efficiency. My deployment ended. I returned home to a country that felt alien, a life that had been irrevocably fractured. The house, our house, was no longer mine. Sarah had made that abundantly clear. I stayed in a small apartment downtown, a temporary haven as I began to put my plan into motion. The first step was easy. Information. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop named Ben, and tasked him with digging into Mark Thompson's life. Everything. His business dealings, his past relationships, his secrets. Ben was good. He uncovered a trail of shady deals, questionable ethics, and a pattern of exploiting vulnerable people. Thompson was a wolf in sheep's clothing, a man who built his empire on the backs of others. Perfect. Next, I contacted a lawyer, a formidable woman named Ms. Evans. Cold, calculating, and utterly brilliant. I explained my situation, carefully omitting the more personal aspects of my plan. I simply wanted to ensure the divorce settlement was fair, that Sarah didn't get away with everything she had stolen. Ms. Evans listened intently, her eyes sharp and assessing. "Mr. Johnson, you have a strong case. We can fight this." "I don't want to fight," I said, my voice calm and steady. "I want to win." The legal battle was a slow burn. Ms. Evans filed motions, requested documents, and meticulously dismantled Sarah's claims. I remained detached, focused, a ghost in my own life. Meanwhile, Ben continued to feed me information on Mark Thompson. I learned about his latest project, a luxury condo development that was teetering on the edge of financial ruin. He had overextended himself, borrowed heavily, and was desperately seeking investors to keep the project afloat. This was it. The opening I had been waiting for. I established a shell corporation, a complex web of offshore accounts designed to conceal my identity. Then, I approached Thompson with an offer he couldn't refuse, a substantial investment in his failing project. He was ecstatic. Blinded by desperation, he didn't bother to delve too deeply into the origins of the money. He just saw a lifeline and grabbed it with both hands. We met in a dimly lit restaurant, the kind favored by shady businessmen and clandestine affairs. Thompson reeked of desperation and cheap cologne. "Mr. Smith," he said, extending a hand, his smile too wide, too eager. "It's a pleasure doing business with you." I shook his hand, my face impassive. "The pleasure is all mine, Mr. Thompson." Over the next few weeks, I funneled millions into his project, enough to keep it afloat, enough to lull him into a false sense of security. He treated me like a savior, showering me with gratitude and promises of future riches. He had no idea he was dancing with the devil. The divorce proceedings dragged on, a constant reminder of Sarah's betrayal. She was smug, confident, convinced she had won. She paraded Thompson around town, flaunting their relationship, reveling in my supposed misery. I played the part of the broken man perfectly. I let her believe she had destroyed me. Then the hammer fell. I pulled the plug on Thompson's project. I withdrew my investment, leaving him scrambling for funds, his empire crumbling around him. The shell corporation vanished, leaving no trace, no connection to me. Thompson was ruined, bankrupt, disgraced, his reputation tarnished beyond repair. The news hit Sarah like a tidal wave. The man she had left me for was nothing but a fraud, a con artist on the verge of collapse. Her social media went silent. The smiles vanished. Then came the calls. Frantic, desperate calls. She begged me to help, to intervene, to save Thompson. I ignored them. The final act was the sweetest. The divorce settlement was finalized. Ms. Evans had done her job brilliantly. Sarah received nothing. She had gambled everything and lost. I sat in my apartment, watching the city lights gleam through the window. The rage had finally dissipated, replaced by a cold sense of satisfaction. Sarah had underestimated me. She had treated me like a fool, a pushover. She had thought she could discard me like a broken toy and get away with it. She was wrong. A knock on the door startled me. It was Ms. Evans. "Mr. Johnson," she said, her voice professional as ever, "I have some documents for you to sign. The transfer of ownership is complete." I signed the papers without a word. "Congratulations, Mr. Johnson," Ms. Evans said, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "You are now the sole owner of Thompson Properties." I had bought the company, the shell of Thompson's shattered empire, for pennies on the dollar. I now controlled his assets, his debts, his future. And Sarah was living in one of his properties, the house we once shared, now owned by me. I drafted an email and sent it to Sarah. Subject: regarding your living situation. Dear Sarah, I trust you are well. I am writing to inform you that I am now the owner of the property you are currently residing in. As such, I am giving you 30 days to vacate the premises. Failure to comply will result in legal action. Sincerely, David Johnson. I watched the city lights as the email was sent. It was done. The phone rang. It was Sarah. I let it go to voicemail. "David, please, you can't do this. Where will I go? What will I do? Please, just talk to me." I deleted the message. Revenge is a dish best served cold, they say. And I had savored every single bite. I knew that this wouldn't bring back the years we lost. It wouldn't undo the pain. It wouldn't fill the emptiness inside me. But it did bring a sense of closure. Sarah had chosen her path. She had made her bed. And now, she had to lie in it. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel triumph. I just felt empty. But it was an emptiness I could live with. I closed the curtains, shutting out the city lights. It was time to move on, to rebuild my life, to find my own happiness. Sarah was a chapter in my past, a painful chapter, but a chapter nonetheless. And it was finally closed. Some weeks later, I had moved on with my life, throwing myself back into my work, spending time with friends, and even tentatively exploring the idea of dating again. The scars from Sarah's betrayal were still there, but they were beginning to fade. One evening, I received a call from Ben, the private investigator. "David," he said, his voice serious, "I've got something you need to hear." He proceeded to tell me that, after Sarah had been evicted, she had spiraled into a deep depression. She had lost everything: her home, her lover, her savings. She was working a dead-end job, barely making ends meet. "She's not doing well, David," Ben said. "I think she needs help." I felt a pang of guilt, a flicker of empathy for the woman I had once loved. Had I gone too far? Had my quest for revenge consumed me? I wrestled with my conscience. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to dismiss her suffering as nothing more than she deserved. But another part of me, the part that still remembered the Sarah I had married, couldn't turn a blind eye. I decided to visit her. I found her in a small, dingy apartment, a far cry from the life of luxury she had craved. She looked gaunt, her eyes hollow, her spirit broken. She was surprised to see me. Her expression was a mixture of fear and resentment. "What do you want, David?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't say anything. I just looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the devastation I had wrought. "I'm sorry, Sarah," I said finally. "I'm sorry for everything." She started to cry. I offered her help. I helped her find a better job, a decent place to live. I didn't do it because I still loved her. I did it because it was the right thing to do. Revenge had given me satisfaction, but it hadn't given me peace. True peace came from forgiveness, from letting go of the anger and resentment that had consumed me. I will probably never trust her again, and she is not a part of my life today, but I can rest easier knowing I chose peace. My life is on the upswing and so is hers, but we aren't meant to be. It is a lesson for me to learn from, and hopefully she will too. I am moving in with someone new that I trust with my entire life, and I know it will be great.